topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good morning, my second favorite city. I know, I've already done 3 shows today. But you know what? This is Dallas. This is my hometown. I have got so many friends and family members that are listening to the show today. And it's perfect because a lot of my family members are older. And when I told them that we're doing our Medicare show, they got all excited. It's like, well, because you know what, you hear so much, I think, false advertising on TV. You're going to get this year, but we've got 2 pros with us. I love the name they use. It's called Your Medicare Gals. And let me introduce you to Sharon Luker and Lynn Tim, our experts in Medicare. Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon. Hi.
Hey,
I love your name too.
Look at Sharon waving.
We're going to have fun today, people.
I know. I'd like to say that we're making Medicare fun again.
That's good. I got to tell you, because we've been promoting this show for this past week, and most of the questions that people have are about the advertising. They are getting inundated. Text messages and promises that I don't think are true, but you're going to help us on that today because you are the experts when it comes to Medicare.
Well, and if anyone has questions while they're watching this, I think they can use the chat, right?
They can.
And we'll keep our eye on it, and we'll try and answer those as they come in.
Beautiful. Well, which one of you would like to talk about the company? Tell us all about your company and your backgrounds.
I'll start. I just want to make sure everyone sees me. Well, Lynn and I are both insurance agents, okay? And we have known each other, 8-9 years. We have our own practices. And I've been in the business, 20 plus years. Lynn's been in the business a long time. So we've been doing this a long time, and we get tons of questions about Medicare. Like you said, you talked about your relatives, and we were together one time and we said, we want to become a local resource. Although we do have clients all over the country, but we want to become a local resource for the Dallas-Fort Worth area, that people could see us. They can go to our website. We're very good at what we do. We understand it very well. I'm on Medicare, and Lynn has lots of relatives and friends on Medicare. So we formed this collaboration called Your Medicare Gals. Lynn, you want to add to that?
Sure. So, we do Medicare, but we also do under 65 health. We do life insurance. Both of us come from a financial advisor background and decided that there was really a shortage of agents that focused on health insurance and Medicare. And that's really an area where people need a lot of help. Since the Affordable Care Act passed, a lot has changed. And people are, buying their own individual insurance. People are working longer. They don't know what to do when they turn 65. And, there's a lot of pitfalls if you don't do it right. So, our goal is to customize solutions for our clients. We look at everybody as an individual. I mean, what is best for your friend, your neighbor, sometimes even your spouse might not be the best option for you. So, we look at it as it's an individual decision based on your specific situation. So Sharon and I, work with all of our clients individually. We do workshops and seminars around the Dallas area, and we're licensed in multiple states. I'm in 19 states. Sharon, I know you're in a bunch. So we do help people around the country. In fact, I was in Florida last week and met with a client.
Are you licensed here, Lynn?
I am.
Oh,
So I have a lot of clients in Florida, and I was in Naples last week. And I told a new client that I was going to be in Naples, and she said, "Oh, stop by." So we stopped by and met in person, which was nice. But yeah, so Sharon and I, work all over the country, but Dallas Fort Worth is where most of our business is.
and I know why you went to Naples. Don't kid us. I know why you went there. It's beautiful there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I have a friend with an incredibly lovely home there that loves for me to come and visit. So I
do. You have to invite me.
Yeah.
And me.
So, you know what? I'm on Medicare too. And, I got to tell you, I've had friends that go, I don't really like Medicare, but I'm doing it. I got to tell you, I love Medicare.
Awesome.
I love it too.
I do too.
Yeah, but you know what, Steve? You're on an HMO Medicare plan. It's different than a straight Medicare plan. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point, Sophia, because Medicare is different for everyone. It has the same rules, but how you fill in those little bit of gaps and holes and how you cover it is completely different. And what's good for you may not be good for me, but if you know the system and know how it works fabulous in my mind.
Listen, I go to get my prescriptions filled and they say no charge. I'm like, gosh, I love this. But I got to tell, I want people to understand, because sometimes we just take it for granted. Everybody knows about enrollment and things like that. And I was one of the idiots. And a friend of mine said, I love Medicare. Are you on it? I went, no. And he said, well, aren't you 66? I went, yeah. He said, and so guess what? I didn't know about enrollment. And it cost me a whole year before I could get completely covered.
Yep. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that, Steve, because that has changed.
Ooh, for the better or worse.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it was. But you're so right. It's too bad we didn't know you when you were 65, and we could have stopped you from making that mistake.
It was a major mistake that I want everybody to know early. They don't have to wait, before they're 65, or in my case, 66. You know what? Let's start, Lynn, tell people what Medicare is.
Sure. So Medicare is our federal health insurance program for people that are 65 and older, or for people with disability. So if you've been on disability for 24 quarters or 2 years, did I say that right? 24 months, excuse me, 24
months, yeah.
Or 2 years.
2 years.
Then you are eligible for Medicare. So we work with people that have Medicare with disability. That's a little bit different area. But we do help people with that. There are options for people with Medicare that are under 65. But Medicare was signed into law by Lyndon Johnson in 1965. And at that point, that was, I think, one of the, that people weren't living much longer, back then. So back then, it wasn't designed to cover people for as long. But now, people are living to 100, so they're on Medicare for a long time. But, but back then, half the seniors didn't have health insurance, and there was a need for that. So, I don't have this year's statistics, but in 2022, two, we had more people aging into Medicare than at any time in history. So if you were born in 1957, that was the biggest baby boom year, and it peaked. And but I don't know what was going on in 57, but a lot of babies were born.
She's got a dirty mind. Sure.
Well, I
Shame
mean,
on you.
so now there's more than 63 million Americans on Medicare. So
I think 62 million of them are here in Florida.
I know, Florida. There's a lot going to Florida.
Well, they're moving to Texas too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sharon, there's different, like almost the whole alphabet is part of the Medicare, part A, B, C, D. Can you explain to the viewers what each one of those mean?
So when you are turning 65, that is the time for you to kind of perk up and say, okay, do I want to go on Medicare? Do I not want to go on Medicare? What are the choices? You start doing your research and you see A, B, C, plan G, plan this. I mean, it drives you nuts. So to make it simple, it does. To make it simple, start with A and B. Okay, Medicare A and B. Medicare Part A covers your your hospitals, your inpatient, not outpatient, but inpatient coverage. And one thing that a lot of people don't even realize, that is the part that covers hospice. Medicare covers hospice, and hospice, see, look at Steve, and hospice is expensive, but hospice is a godsend, end of life, godsend. And Medicare A will pick up that expense.
Did you know that? You did?
And then you have
she's in the healthcare business.
Well, we're going to learn something today, And Steve, you're even on Medicare and you don't even know that. So
I did not know that.
That's why I like to bring it up. And then Part B is for like doctor's visits, outpatient type things, home health care. It used to be that Medicare didn't cover home health care, but it does kind of. And they've expanded the rules for home health care, and that is covered under Part B. And we're seeing more and more of it being covered. And
what do you mean, Sharon, kinda?
Well, I can't say. For instance, when you're on Medicare and you go into the hospital and it accepts Medicare, it will cover you. If you need home health care, it may not. Okay, so here's an example. You have to be getting better, okay? So it has to be medically necessary and you have to be getting better. So if you are at home and let's say you had a stroke and you were in bed and, that is the way it's going to be, they're not going to pay for home health care for you. It's more, think of it more like rehab. And it only used to be short term, but I've had people tell me, these home health care agencies, that their mom was on it for 2 years. I don't know, Lynn, what do you say on that? What do you think?
I'm shocked at that. I'm shocked at that.
I know.
For 2
there are
years.
ways to get through the system, and the home health care agencies know how to do it.
Exactly, because it's not any way you can be on home health for 2 years.
Well, it depends. Is it skilled nursing care? Is it custodial care? Do you have an advantage plan or do you have a supplement? Because it can be covered differently. The advantage plans sometimes have different benefits for home health care or additional benefits, in their plans. So it varies. But yes, it's covered to a degree, but don't expect that it's going to be covered forever, or that it covers things like custodial care,
The Part B is different than if you're on an HMO or a PPO plan. So I'm shocked that a Part B plan would cover home health for 2 years.
Well, okay, Sophia, let's go backwards, okay? So you have Medicare A and B that I was talking about. When you talk HMO, PPO, you are now talking into my next alphabet, which is C. That's advantage plans. That is definitely different than A and B. You have to have A and B to get C, but Part C covers the Advantage plans, and
Right.
that's where you look at the networks and that type of thing. And then you have
Right.
Plan D, which covers drugs. And A and B were great. The drug plans, they're the things that I get the most complaints about.
About how much coverage?
Well, the expensive drugs.
Yes.
Like my inhaler with the Part D insurance is $600.
Oh my gosh. See, now that's what we would hear on the phone. And then I've got Steve over there going, oh, but I don't pay anything for my.
Exactly, because he has C.
And Sophia's like, but wait a minute. And it depends on your medications.
Yeah, it depends. So if it's a brand name medication and there's no generic, some of those inhalers are like that.
Yeah.
There's some drugs like Eliquis and Xarelto and so forth that put people in the donut hole, and the costs go up and down. But we do have other options. There's lots of companies and programs that you can look into to try to get your drug costs down. There's lots of things sometimes we can help people with, even Canadian pharmacies. There's an excellent one in Florida that I work with. And I've managed to help a lot of my clients get some of those non-generic medications, through that source. So, Sharon and I know a lot, and we can help sometimes solve some problems that, a lot of agents may not even go to the trouble to try to help you with.
Where does physical therapy come in under?
That's B.
That's B?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
So
that's covered. Yeah,
under,
that's all covered. Yeah.
Yes.
That's covered under B.
So I found some Part Ds don't even allow you to get the generic. They want you to, for instance, the inhaler. I couldn't get the generic. I had to get the brand name.
Well, especially on inhalers, you know what I've seen? Sometimes the generic inhalers are more expensive than brand name. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. I have seen that. You think generic cheap, but in certain medications, not so. And that is why they are pushing that. It's all about the cost of the plan for the Advantage plans.
You've got Tom, let's see, was it Tom Thumb in Dallas?
Yep.
So our grocery store here, there's maybe 10 or 12 medications that they give you at no cost. Does Tom Thumb do that?
Antibiotics.
Yeah, it depends on what it does. So there's generic medications that are covered on a lot of these plans. If they're a tier 1, and remember, the prescription drug plans are priced in tiers, usually 1 to 5. 1 is the least expensive. That's the preferred generic that's on the plan's formulary. And a lot of plans now will give you 3 months at zero cost on those tier 1 medications. Some plans will give you zero cost on tiers 2 if you use their mail order vendor. So, generics are great on Medicare. It's just some of these brand name medications that are really pricey.
They bring you to tears.
Yes. Yep.
Well, I think we're going to talk about drugs a little bit later, but I wanted to make a point. This is what I tell people, because this is what I do. You do not have to run your medications through your drug plan. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. You do not have to run your medications through your drug plan. So if I'm on Synthroid brand name. Of course, Medicare hates, So my doctor said, forget Medicare, go order it, from, in fact, I think it's in Florida. Also, go order it from this pharmacy and you'll get it much cheaper, mail order. Or people say they have Good RX and they can get it much cheaper.
Yes.
Good RX. So it is just an option for you on your drugs. Just throw that into the mix, but you don't have to use it.
Yes, because I checked Good RX and I was shocked that they were cheaper.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Depends again.
Well, it depends on that's with anything though.
Yeah, because I know I checked it too, and
for your inhaler, I know.
Well, some medications there's not a
right.
inexpensive way to get them, unless sometimes Canadian pharmacy
Canadian.
can be a solution, but it's tough on some of those. Yeah.
Sharon, you mentioned complaints. What kind of complaints do you get from your clients?
Well, drugs are the big one, like I said.
Okay.
Just like you hear Sophia, they're going, yeah, but my inhaler, yeah, but my Eliquis, yeah,
Yes.
but. And when it comes to brand names, because some of these medications, let me tell you, cancer, Lynn and I talk about cancer. You can get chemo in a pill now, and it can, they've just changed that this year, so I have to be careful what I say, but it was usually runs through your drug program, your Part D. Well, then you get into the donut hole and you get into all and Part D is unlimited. There's no caps. There's no caps on drugs. So that's a big one. The other huge complaint is signing up.
Oh,
You have to sign up through Social Security. I think we're going to get to that a little bit later, but Social Security is just a nightmare right now trying to sign people up.
Yeah.
that's where they take my supplemental out of my Social Security.
Well, yes, but just to even if you're not on Social Security when you turn 65 and you have to go apply. So it's a nightmare. Or you're coming off a group plan and now you've got to apply, and Medicare is looking at you, or Social Security is going, wait a minute, you're 67, you did not sign up at 65, we're going to penalty you. And you go, oh no, I was on a company plan. They go, prove it.
Right.
So they get a form from the company saying you were on a company plan. So there's more hoops to jump through to kind of maneuver.
So, Lynn, if a person, let's say they're turning 65, what do they need to do now to get on Medicare?
So that's a great question, and that's one that starts all the trouble. So
That's soon in the process?
It used to be that, you turn 65, you went on Social Security. When you go on Social Security, they automatically enroll you in Medicare. So it's a simple process, but now, full retirement age is 66 and 7 months or so. And people are working longer, so they can defer their enrollment into Medicare. So Medicare doesn't contact you and say, hey, you need to enroll. It's your time. So you have to be proactive about it, and you have to know about it, which, like Steve, you're a perfect example. You didn't realize that you needed to enroll at 65, and you found out the hard way. So if you are working and you are with an employer, it can vary whether. If you work for a small employer, like less than 20 employees, then you need to enroll in Part A and B. If you work for a larger employer, then you should enroll in Part A. If you're going to stay on your group plan, if you like it and it's not outrageously expensive. I mean, one of the things that people should do is really compare, because a lot of group plans want you off at age 65. So they don't make it cheap for you to stay on your plan or to keep your spouse on the plan. So it's always a good idea to see what your options are, see what it's going to cost on your Part B, see what it costs for a supplement, what's your health situation, so a good broker like Sharon or myself can look at your group plan, see what you're paying, and see if it's worth it to stay on, or you should jump off and enroll in Medicare. But at a minimum, go ahead and enroll in your Part A. There's no premium to Part A if you've worked for 10 years or 40 quarters. Or, there's other ways you can get Part A. You can pay for it if but for most of us, it's no charge. And Part A will work with your group plan. So it will pick up some of those Part A deductibles. So if you have a group plan with a $5,000 deductible or a $2,000 deductible, Part A will coordinate benefits with your group coverage. Your group coverage will remain primary if it's a large group. And Medicare will be the secondary and pick up some of those costs. So it's worth it to go ahead and enroll in Part A only, defer Part B if you're going to stay on your group coverage. But if you decide to stay on your group coverage, then when you're ready to enroll, you can do that at ssa.gov. That's the easiest and quickest way to do it. You need to have an account or set up an account if you don't have one already. And really, you should have one. I mean, if you don't have one, it's best to have one because you don't want somebody else to get one in your name. So, establish your ssa.gov account for, security purposes. And there's lots of good information, like you can see your Social Security income statement in there and other things. So we recommend, getting enrolled in Part A. And then if you're coming off of a group, then you have a window to enroll with no medical questions, for your supplement and so forth. But you do want to enroll. You don't want to let too much time go by. So when you know that you're going to retire, then contact your agent and, give them a couple months notice if you can, because there's some paperwork. If you've deferred your Part B, there's some forms that you have to submit that your employer needs to sign to verify that you had group coverage, and you won't get dinged with that late enrollment penalty. But you want to give yourself at least a month or so just to, allow the processing time, because as Sharon said, Social Security is a bit of, it's not great since COVID. A lot of offices were closed for about 2 years. They're opening up now, but there's long wait periods. If you call, there's only one number. It's really hard to find the number for your local office. I know Sharon and I have some of the local office numbers in our area, but there's no way to call the Dallas one. It's impossible. You won't.
Is that right?
Good.
Oh, West
Yeah,
Palm number.
it goes to an 800
It goes to
number.
that main number. So, and you can have, I've had a 2-hour wait and then I've been dropped, and that was happening last year. It was a huge problem. As we said, it was a huge year for people trying to enroll and people that were turning 65, and they couldn't keep up with it. So it was really tough. So they actually even announced another little special enrollment window for those people that were subjected to dropped calls, that had tried to enroll when they were eligible but couldn't get through. So Medicare was waiving that late enrollment penalty for those people that qualified for that. So there's lots and lots of special enrollment windows and penalties and lots to know. But the long answer to that question is, if you're unsure or if you're still working, get with an agent and look at your options and make sure that you don't get stuck with a late enrollment penalty down the road.
I have, we're getting texts. I guess a lot of people are listening on the radio side. First one is, are all insurance companies have the same rate for Medicare?
I'll take that. So Medicare itself, remember Part A and B, you buy from the government. You buy it from Medicare, Social Security. So it is the same rate. My Part B is going to be the same as your Part B, unless it's income adjusted, and that's a little bit different. Now, when you get into Medicare supplement plans that you buy from an insurance company, those plans have all different prices. A Plan G, for instance, is exactly the same, but they really vary in prices with the insurance company. So you want to shop it. In fact, Lynn and I both have software programs that if we put in your age, where your zip code, where you live, it pops up all the rates for the Medicare supplement plans. And, we try and get you as efficient as possible. And then also on your Advantage plans, a lot of them are zero premium or small, $10, $20, but they do vary in what they cover as far as hospital, as far as doctor visits. So those are different.
I got the other texts that we got were, "What took you so long to get these girls on?" Actually,
Yay!
I was one of the ones who's been begging you to put on experts in Medicare. But I got to tell you, the ladies have been with us almost a year on our radio show we do in Dallas. Now they've come over to the TV, radio, and podcast. So I'm glad you're enjoying the show, and they'll also be back with us again next month.
Well, Steve, we hear that all the time. I just heard it this week.
Oh, stop bragging.
We do. We hear it. Why did I not know you when I moved here, when I did this? Because if you don't work with an agent, and to Lynn's point, you want to work with an agent, but you want to work with an agent that specializes in Medicare.
Yes.
Okay, that specializes in Medicare. And because if you stub your toe, it's going to cost you, or you're not going to be able to get the plan that you want.
Well, I want to add to that too, that Sharon and I are independent agents. So we don't push certain companies. We look at what is best for the client. We show a lot of different companies. We know a lot about the different companies. We're not going to suggest some fly-by-night company that's going to cease operations down the road. I mean, we work with reputable companies, A-rated companies.
Like Bright Health Plan. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, that's under 65. Yeah.
But so many seniors, and we hear this over and over again. They see those commercials on TV, the
Yes.
Joes, the Joe Namath, the Joe Montana, Jimmy J.J. Walker, and they hear, oh, this is so wonderful. And they call and they sign up, and then they find out that the plan they signed up for, their doctor doesn't take, or it doesn't cover their medications properly, or they didn't tell them that they needed to cancel their Medicare supplement, and then they've got both, which is illegal. You're not allowed to have both. Yet, if you don't cancel it, they keep charging you that premium, and guess what? It's for nothing, because your Medicare Advantage takes over and your supplement is useless. So it happens all the time. People don't understand, and they're talking to a call center. They're talking to a person that doesn't know them, may be there for 6 months and then they're gone. They don't have their best interests at heart. They don't, they can't text them at night. I mean, our clients know that they can reach us when they need us, and they know who we are, and they know that we're not going to put them in a plan just because we work in that call center pushing that company. So it's amazing.
At 2:00 in the morning. Just test that out.
Yeah, I'm switching to that.
Not at 2 a.m.
Well, I have had people text me at like 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve, and
Wow.
I'm not saying I always answer, but they know that I will. And they know that
Florida here is the scam capital of the world
yeah.
because of the age demographics here.
Right.
It's, I guess, easier to scam an older person than it is a young person.
And that's terrible. That it breaks our heart to think that people are scamming our seniors, and it makes me so angry, because I tell you, there is more compliance and rules with Medicare plans and things that Sharon and I have to do to be able to sell them. Yet these seniors are still getting scammed, and still, there's disreputable companies out there selling their products, with agents that don't know what they're talking about. So it just really incenses me that, it continues to happen.
Well, I think the big problem is they kind of push, the radio shows push all the, alternative benefits when you're buying a health plan. Yeah. You need to concentrate on what's it going to pay for the doctor, what's going to pay for the hospitals.
Right.
And in our area, Steve, a lot of doctors are not taking Medicare anymore.
I was going to say that. I do network development, and when I was in Texas working, a lot of physicians weren't doing Medicare.
Right. That's the first hoop you have to jump through, because this is what I tell people. If your doctor doesn't take Medicare, all bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
You can have an Advantage plan, you can have a Med Sub, you can have the best plans, but it ain't going to work, you know? Right. And the other thing is, on the Advantage plans, not all doctors take all Advantage plans. Not all hospitals take all Advantage plans.
Right.
So,
but you know what, though, Sharon? Like, I have doctors that I wanted to make sure that they were part of the plan. But when I called them, they said, well, we're not really in the plan. We're in a separate group. I said, but it shows you're on the plan. And then they would say, well, we kind of have our own plan. That was frustrating.
So.
No, but
were they pushing concierge plans?
They were
a lot of
pushing,
doctors are going concierge.
They had their own plan that they weren't accepting Advantage people, even though their name was on it. It was so frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Oh my gosh.
That does happen. And I want to say that, doctors do sign contracts with these insurance companies to be in the network. And so if the network tool that your, provider lookup tool maybe isn't updated, although most of the big carriers update it every day, it should be updated. It's supposed to be. But sometimes doctors will cancel their contract mid-year or things happen. But if they have a signed contract with that plan, then they have to accept it. And there is a division in these companies, provider relations, that, I have reached out sometimes when I've had clients that have had an issue and had the provider relations for that carrier contact the doctor and, straighten it out. If they're not in the plan, then fine, that's it. But if they have a signed contract, they can't say they can't take it. So, we do get provider relations involved in those types of situations to see, because, it's hard to keep up when there's thousands of doctors, and it does, change occasionally.
So Sharon, tell the listeners what IRMA is. Explain IRMA.
IRMA
is not your friend.
This is another complaint that I get all the time.
IRMA.
Do you know what IRMA is?
I don't. Do you?
Okay, it's something about the income that you make a month, and they take out, I think it's based on how much you make a year to determine how much you're going to pay in the Medicare for Part A.
So it's like they call it a surcharge on your Part B premium. So if your Part B premium this year is $165, but I'm single, and if I made more than, what is it, Lynn? I think it's $97,000 this year. Looking back 2 years on the tax return, they will kindly add a surcharge onto this. Okay.
Yeah. I had that happen.
Listen to this. So if, and when I say income, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm working. That means I sold my business and now I had a big capital gain. It's what's showing on the tax return. Yeah. I took out a chunk out of my IRA or my retirement benefits. But this is how expensive this can get. I was a little shocked. Every year they change the IRMA brackets. So if you are over, if you're married, let's say if you're married and you on your income tax return make over $750,000, and I know that's a lot, but some of these houses and something,
that's so for you.
Yeah, I wish.
What Part B is going to cost you for each of you if you're married? $800 each, $1,600 a month.
Wow.
You get the 165. The IRMA surcharge is $560 for Part B, and you get the IRMA surcharge on Part D, which is $76, $801 per person, $1,600 a year just to have Part B and D.
Wow.
Yeah, I noticed Irma went up last
And there's
year.
a lot of people paying that. There's a lot of wealth in this country. A lot of people in your part of the world and our part of the world. I have a lot of clients that are paying that amount.
But one thing to know on Irma is you can fight it. Okay. So if you had, let's say, and it's common, I sold a business or I retired. Yes, I did make a lot of money and now I'm retiring and I'm not pulling in my money, whatever it is. You can file an appeal. There's a form. I forgot what it is, but there's a form that you fill out and you go to Social Security and go, yes, that's true. For that year, I made that amount of money. Because what they do is they look at your tax return. They're looking at your tax return. And if you can prove that, okay, that was a one-time thing, I've retired, my income is down, they'll take away Irma.
Oh.
And what I have found, Lynn, I don't know if I told you this, but people were sending in their Irma forms and they weren't getting anywhere. So what I have now discovered, when I work with people, Lynn and I, we are all a group. You tell me what's going on. We never really know what's happening right now. So I've had multiple clients say the way I got my Irma through is I went to the local office. I sat there. And what I tell people is bring your backup. They want proof that you did retire or something has changed, and they will change it right there on the spot. They'll get rid of it right there on the spot.
Right. Wow. Unbelievable.
Too bad I have to work.
Yeah, really. Wow. That's, what's so great about this show is that, first of all, the way you explain to both of you, the way you explain things, you're not talking over our heads. And, that's a little intimidating to a senior citizen, especially when it comes to Medicare. There's so much to know, but you're going to learn about it on this show. And if you look at your clocks, you see how fast the show has gone by today?
I know, it's flying by.
I think we have about 5 minutes.
Wow.
And first of all, give we have a lot of people listening on radio, so give out your phone number.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Mine is, I'm Lynn, and mine is 214-762-4247.
And this is Sharon, and I'm at 972-596-1318. You can also go to we have a website called yourmedicaregals.com. And there's a lot of information on there. You can email us through there, or we have a separate email and we'll get back to you. But that's how you can reach us.
This did go fast.
I know. Listen, I knew that was going to happen. And normally the show is about 25 minutes, but we had an extra this is their first TV show. And this is the first time I've actually worked with them. It is a pleasure interviewing both of you. And I really feel like we're doing something because, we're working with senior citizens, and you guys really have got it together. And I want to compliment you on something. I love your customer service, the way you handle it, because there's a lot of agents out there that this is what you get. And you hear things that there's other things out there, but they'll never tell you what they are.
But I love their integrity.
Yes.
They have, and their compassion towards the seniors.
Yes.
To assure that they're going to get the best plan.
Look at Sharon's head getting bigger.
She's not going.
Well, what I want to say is you keep talking about the seniors, but Lynn and I deal a lot with the professionals in town.
That's true.
And let me tell you, the smartest attorneys going on Medicare or the smartest financial planners, they are just as confused, as, it's been shocking. We get a lot of referrals from the the professionals in town. And I'm thinking, you're a financial planner, you should know this. And they go, nah, we don't know that part of it, you know? So people shouldn't feel bad if they don't know it. It's universal, no matter what your background is and how much you make or whatever.
It changes too. I mean, they're always changing. So
Tell everybody what other areas of insurance you handle.
So one thing I'll just say real quick, Sharon, but you know, when you have a spouse that ages into Medicare and the other spouse doesn't, and maybe they have a group plan, you know, the spouse that goes into Medicare, they can't take their younger spouse with them. They don't get to go on Medicare together. So sometimes that means that the group benefits end for that younger spouse, or maybe they didn't, you know, who knows what they had. But so we help people with a younger spouse that needs solutions. And, you know, insurance, if you're on the individual marketplace, can be very expensive. You know, if you're low income and you can qualify for a marketplace plan with a tax credit and a big subsidy, which are pretty generous right now, great, you can get a decent health plan. But, you know, for someone that maybe makes too much or doesn't qualify for a tax credit, it can be over $1,000 a month for a high deductible plan with no doctor visits. And, you know, it's just expensive. And their doctors, you know, they're mostly HMOs. A lot of doctors don't take them. So Sharon and I have other solutions, you know, depending on your state. There's short-term medical plans that can offer a bridge to Medicare for that younger spouse. We have indemnity plans, other types of plans, but that's one of the other things we do is help with a spouse or family member that needs coverage as well.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left. Is there any way you could find out if Campese's Pizza is a benefit for Medicare?
You know what? That is my favorite pizza place. You are in Dallas. Did you go to the one on Mockingbird?
Yeah, that was the Egyptian Lounge.
Yeah, that's
the one on and there was a Dr. Pepper plant across the street from it. It's all
well,
gone.
you need to come visit and we'll go to Campese's.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Let's give the people listening on radio, because we've been running your phone number during the entire show. Let's give people your phone number, how they can reach you, the ones who are listening on radio.
Sharon, it's your turn.
Yeah, okay. Sharon, 972-596-1318. Sharon Luker.
And I'm Lynn Tim, and mine is 214-762-4247. And go to our website, yourmedicaregals.com. It has all our contact info and lots of good information about Medicare.
Oh, you know, one other thing real quick, Steve, is, and we are getting our schedule together for our seminars and our talks. And so if someone is interested to come meet us and hear about, we go into a little bit more detail in our talks, that keep checking our website. We'll get that up. We'll get that all locked in.
And is it going to be next month?
Well,
you don't know yet.
Well, we're trying. The hardest place is we're under a lot of constraints by Medicare where we can hold these things and what we can talk about. So we're trying to find a place, and we're working on it. We're going to try next month.
Once you do, we can scroll it on the TV on the bottom for the info.
Oh,
I think we're going to probably start doing virtual ones as well. And that's easier for people to just watch from their computer.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get out of here. You're going to be back with us again next month. Thank you, all the people who texted us.
Thank you. So good to see y'all in person.
Oh my gosh, we could have gone another hour. We had so many questions. But anyway, thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
It was interesting.
We'll see you next month.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And we'll be back with you next week with more Ask the Experts. We got some great shows coming up, and we will see you again. Everybody have a wonderful week. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.